What I got here is some data I just captured a couple weeks ago, and so I'm just now getting time to take a look. So we are going to be looking at the Horsehead and Flame Nebula. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a base starter version of PixInsight that kind of has some of my tools preloaded. If you're wondering how to get all these cool tools preloaded and set up, I'll drop a link to a video of a guy who can really show you all that great stuff to get you going. And I'll walk you through a couple of those things, but I'll be pointing you to several things. But I'm going to go ahead and open my data here. So what I got is 60 exposures stacked for 600 seconds each on the L Extreme, and then 30 by 600 for the L Pro. And then I got some stars here that I shot with the diffractor in front of the L Pro. I'm going to open up all three of these. These were shot on a ZWO ASI 294 MC Pro behind a Red Cat 51. I've got, look like 10 hours of L Extreme data and 5 hours of L Pro data. So first thing I'm going to do is open up those, pull up in this, what I call the STF, or the screen transfer function. And this is just kind of going to give us a preview of what it's going to look once this raw image is stretched. So this is raw. I stacked all these in Deep Sky Stacker. But I'm going to go ahead and just stretch these, or the pre-stretch type of deal, just to take a look for the first time what my data is going to look like. So, okay, so there's the stars. You see the diffraction on these. First thing I want to really do is kind of go through here, and I'll just want to, like, you know, look at the images and admire them for sure. You know, I'm noticing some defects really quick on how I'm going to have to address these stars, but you know, not as bad in this one, so I'm glad I captured those separately. But the first thing I want to do is identify this. It's just easier, STRS, and I like to do it all lowercase or all uppercase, one or the other, because later when we get into the Pix math, you got to make it's case sensitive. So I like to just stay consistent when I can. And then we're going to change the identifier of this one to LEXT for L Extreme. And you notice, obviously, some of these, when they got stacked, the majority of the data was either pre or post meridian. So these are getting, you know, represented here on this angle. And of course, this one is the opposite. But we're going to fix that. We're going to align all these up. You can see real quickly that we also have some stacking artifacts. This is data for multiple nights on each one. Less so on this one, but there's still a few. So we'll show you how to get these trued up, aligned, so that we can work through the process on okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I want to recognize these photos for what they are. And if you don't have a database downloaded, you're going to need it if you want to do the new version of SPCC, to color calibrate, and to do the image solver that I've got to do prior to the new SPCC programming. But if we look at, let's see here, Astro Drive. This is what you're going to have to download from the PixInsight website, guys, and it's about 60 gigabytes of data. And this is the full set. You can go to a smaller set, but I went ahead and did the whole thing. This is one of the first things you're going to have to do when you want to start using the new SPCC tool, but Image Solver, I believe, works off of it as well. So we're going to go to Script, Image Analysis, Image Solver. Okay, and I'm going to move this over because this is a really big menu. Let me just close this out first. So I want to kind of get these in here first. So the first one I'm going to try to do is this stars one. Let's see if we can make it happen here. Sorry, Script, Image Analysis, Image Solver. Okay, so this window is going to come up, and so the first thing I want to do, you can like list files and just add all these in here, and that might be what I'd like to do, but I want to try this just one at a time in case you just have one set of data. So the active window was the stars layer I had here, and then I'm going to go and search an object in my database, and this is hitting the database locally on my PC, well actually on an external hard drive. So I'm just going to type in Horsehead Nebula. Let's see if that'll pull anything up. Sure did. Okay, Barnard 33, Horsehead Nebula, same thing. See how the RA and deck didn't change? So it goes by a lot of names. So I'm just going to hit OK. And then I've got to kind of put somewhat close to the time of year I captured this. So 2023, month 1, date. I'm going to say just mid-January, and we captured most of that in the dark, right? And then I've got my Red Cat 51 in here, and sometimes it should readjust just after it solves a couple of them for you. So instead of mine being 250, it's changed it a little bit. I did put the pixel size of that 294 MC Pro in here, and then it came up with the resolution. Other than that, there's a bunch of other advanced parameters that I believe some people may use, but I typically do not. But I have this image selected. I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. And it's going to do its thing. So it's going to identify and stamp metadata to this image that can be used in future processes. Let's go through one of these and make sure it works correctly, and then I'll do the other two offline. I guess higher or lower, one or the other is better, but it did a good job of solving that. So I'm going to go ahead and do this to the next two images. So I'm going to select each one of those and do that. All right, so the next thing is kind of just bugging me before we get into other things. I'm going to go in here and adjust these, just turn these over 180 degrees. That way they're all facing right side up in my mind. Going to go back there, and I'm going to also pull out, the second image there is also rotated 180 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and redo that before we apply the SPCC treatment. I'm not sure why it's not letting me hit that as clockwise. Let's just apply it as is, should be fine. Okay, so everything's right side up. And now we're getting ready to do our photometric color calibration. I got my L Extreme. Kind of resize these a little bit. I got my L Pro data, and then I got my stars data that I'll keep down here below. And we're going to do quite a few processes to each one of these. We'll do all of them at the same time. That way we're all in the same step, and we kind of keep up with where we're at. I'm also kind of just looking at the differences in the pictures. You see we got a different flame color here on the L Pro. But ultimately, the data in the L Extreme is what I care about the most. So in a process down the line, we're going to line everything up to it. But first, we're going to do the color calibration for the region. And again, this is something we can't do unless we have the Gaia database downloaded to our PC. But the first step was solving the image. I just rotated them just for my own personal preferences. And then we're going to open up photometric color calibration next. So go into all processes. Go into the SPCC there, and I like the all processes because they're all in alphabetical order. And here, I'm not really changing anything. And you'll notice there it's pulling from that Gaia database there. That is locally on an external hard drive plugged into my PC. And I'm just going to apply this one at a time to each one of these stacks. And it's going to go through there and look for where it's at. It pulled the data, the metadata that was stamped from the image solver, and it's going back to the database and looking to where it can calibrate back to known other databases and how close my data is to that trend. So, and again, we got to re-stretch that or STF that to see what it would look like in the stretch state. That's going to spit out the raw. And then we're going to do that for the other two images as well. It's a pretty quick process. All right, the next thing we're going to want to do is a star alignment, because ultimately we're going to be kind of putting these data on top of each other. And if you see, if I line these up right now, get to the right extent there, you see how there's just a little bit of a shift happening. Let's see what this one looks like on top of all that. So they're all just a little bit off from each other. So what I'm going to do is go to Process, All Processes, Star Alignment. Okay, so we can either pick files, but I'm going to pick a view since the view is looking at what's on my desktop here. So I'm going to pick the reference image to be my Extreme data because I believe it has the most data that's going to be relevant to the entire picture. So it's going to be my reference, and everything is going to be fit or rotated or moved, you know, very small adjustments to line up to this data. So I'm going to pick that as my reference image here in this other view. And then target images, these are the images that are going to target back to this. So I'm going to add a couple of these, which is the LPRO and the stars. I'm going to hit OK, and then I'm going to go down here and hit Apply Global. This is a pretty nifty little script for combining any kind of data. So what it's going to do is re-register your pictures. So it's going to spit out 3 new images, and they will be raw images, so don't freak out when they don't look quite right. Looks like we have stars so far, and we have LPRO. Okay, so we're good. So let's take a look at these. STF. There's my stars. And then there's my LPRO, and you're going to notice the stacking artifacts got even worse because we looks like they had to take this whole image and kind of rotate it a few degrees. But let's put this at the same extent of 1/6 and then resize it to our Extreme and see how good a job that program or that script does there. So you can kind of select it and you see how now they look like seamless images, and if I was to run my stars up here at 1/6. See how it just kind of layers the data in? Alright, so now I've got 3 new images that are image solved, they are color calibrated, they've done a star alignment. I'm going to go ahead and close out these other 2 images, and I'm going to rename these again. I'm going to rename this LPRO, sorry, lowercase. LPRO. We got the LEXT, and then I'm going to rename my stars again. Stars. Okay, so the next thing we're ready for now is a dynamic crop. Obviously, we got some major artifacts to deal with, and as we go into start stretching this, we don't want to have to deal with, you know, any data associated with this. So what I typically do is run a dynamic crop, and let me pick the worst one of these and kind of play with it here. Hold on, let me dynamic crop, open that, then I'll open dynamic crop, and it says it's 4144 by 2822, which happens to be, you know, close to the res of my camera there. And I'm just going to try to get rid of these dark lines for the most part and see. Okay, that gets me close to 4,000, so let me just, for easy numbers, put 4,000 in there and 2,700 and see what that looks like. So I did the crop. I'll close that session out, bring this one up, same thing, 4,000, tab, 2,700, apply. Close that one out. Then we got this one, dynamic crop, 4,000, tab, 2,700, apply. Boom. Okay, so now when I lay these over again, see that? I'm clicking on that and it's kind of showing what's underneath it. Even better here. See that? That's what's underneath. So they're all lined up, and they're all the same exact size. So we can start using these down the line in different ways because of that. But the next thing I want to do is, you notice there is this horrible background gradient on the LPRO data, as it's a broadband filter. It might be somewhat present here, but I don't see it as bad. This is not as long a data, or was captured on maybe a different time at night. And then Extreme doesn't look horrible, but I'm going to go ahead and run automatic background extraction. I think it'll be able to pull this out pretty quick. So we're going to get into ABE, And if this doesn't work, we'll get into dynamic background extraction next, but I hope this will. But I typically start for something like this. This is not horrible. It's pretty easy to see the gradient across, going from bright to dark. In a function degree 2, I correct. First, I always try subtraction through several function degrees, and then I might go division. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to replace the target image, but I'm going to first create a clone of that. And then I do not want to discard the background model. I like to see that. A lot of people just discard it, but I'd like to see what the algorithm picked out as the background and how it applied the change. So this is a clone of our original data, just to, just in case we mess it up. I don't want to have to start from scratch. Boom. Let's drop that on there. It's going to generate 2 files. Or sorry, 1 file, and it's going to change the one we dropped it onto. But here is when we stretch this background, you can see it picked it up pretty good across, very evenly distributed. Let's see what it looks like on the new image when we stretch it. So wow, you see, once you got rid of that background noise, you see kind of all this extra, nebulosity that the LPro actually captured. You also notice some even more of these stacking artifacts. So I'm not going to worry about this too much because this is the main set of data, and we're not going to be using data up in this corner. So I'm just going to leave that for now. It's not a big deal. But you see everything that kind of came out, and if we take that back down to 1/6 and lay it over this guy again. Well, hell, did I scroll down? Here we go. Okay. You see how it's even better with that background out. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this guy. I like what that did. If you don't on your image, you can go down or up. Just know that up is for more intense or more hardcore variations of background. That was a pretty easy right to left. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to go ahead and run a 1 on this one because it doesn't appear to be horrible. Let me clone it first and see what it does. See what background is. So it picked up a similar signature. So let's see what this new image looks like with that pulled out, stretched out. Yeah, and it kind of brought out an additional set of nebulosity there too. See that? It kind of pulled some of that in, and there's some pretty cool artifacts in there. So I'm going to grab that one, get rid of it, and then go ahead and go into this one as well. Just apply that 1 on there. This ain't as big a deal because we're going to be just pulling the stars out of this one. So just curious what it looks like. Yeah. Okay, so we're done with our background. Next thing we want to do is noise exterminator, and I'll show you kind of what we're trying to get rid of here. You see all this junk right here? This is what we're going to get rid of. So I open up noise exterminator. This is kind of the default settings, 90 or 0.9, 90% denoise, and then the detail 0.15. I find on most of my images that have a ton of exposure time, and I've calibrated with darks and everything else. This is about perfect. So ultimately we're gaining to get rid of that. I'll keep zoomed in and I'll show you. I'm just going to drop this on here. And this is going to take a second. So I'll be back in a minute when it's complete. And if it looks great, we'll go in and out of that, and then I'll do the other 2 as well. Okay, so noise exterminator has run. Put that up there, but I just want to show you image, what we started with there. If we redo that, you'll see the change on this image. Image, undo noise, image, redo. You don't really see it here, but when you get in close, guys, this one's been done already as well. Image, undo, image, redo. Same thing with this one. So process takes a little bit of time. It's excellent, and down the road, if you ever have to zoom in or crop your stuff or print on large scales, that is going to go a long way. So the next tool I'm going to use is another add-on that is an additional cost for this. It's just developed by other people at a certain cost. Is our blur exterminator, and I'm going to go ahead and apply that to all 3 of these images. So I'm going to keep these defaults here for now. I may go back and play with these stars a little bit and add some halos later, but I'm going to keep a clone of this just in case. But I'm going to go ahead and get this going right here. Okay, Noise Exterminator has run its course. Let's just take a look. Or sorry, Blur Exterminator. See, this is pre-Blur Exterminator and then post. See the difference there? Let's take a look at that Horsehead. Undo, redo. So it really kind of cleans everything up. So I did the L Pro and the L Extreme. I didn't do the stars yet because I'm just going to pull that non-stellar data out of there anyway. And that Blur Exterminator takes a pretty good time. So the next thing I want to do is save each of these images, because the next thing that I do with these images is I'm going to apply a stretch. And there's a couple ways we can go about that. You know, a lot of people use the histogram function, apply curves tool, the whole nine, and we will be doing some curves, but I like to start with a very easy and soft stretch. And I see this is probably where a lot of people get it wrong, because when you're in the histogram function, you know, when you start playing around and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, you know, if I'm stretching this thing as much as it can go, you know, there's just so many different people screw this up all the time. So I don't want to do that. We're going to do an easy soft stretch, but before I stretch, I don't want to lose any of this progress, because we've made a lot of progress. I want to save these pre-stretch, and then when we open back up, we'll go into the stretch and do all those processes. But if something happens after we stretch, it's going to be really hard to get back to this native pre-stretch state. And again, remember, I've got the screen transfer function on these. So let me go ahead and save each one of these individually. So I'll do that, and we'll open back up and start our soft stretch. All right, so I went ahead and saved all those pre-stretch. So next thing we're going to do is do what I call an easy soft stretch, and it is actually called that, but it's under script, easy processing suite, easy soft stretch. So I've got this guy selected. You can play with these parameters. I typically do not. I just like to run an easy one, and then I'll get into some curves adjustment after that. But I'll run the stretch on this guy. It's done. Do it here. Easy processing suite. Easy soft stretch. I really cleaned that up. And then my stars. Script. Okay, so we've done that. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this when we get into these curves adjustments for each of these. Let me take a look. All right. All right, so the next thing I like to do after the soft stretch is play with the curves just a little bit. And I'm going to start with this guy and open up the preview screen here. And first thing I like to do is start in RGB, and I like to just put a really soft S-curve. But I'll show you kind of the whole tint of this, as you can see how much brightness this is really pulling and color in if we do that. And then, of course, the opposite is true if we bring down here. So ultimately, if I want to darken, I'm going to pull down. Let me take that point off. From about right here, I like to just kind of pull down a little, just a very soft stretch, and then kind of brighten some things up here. And I'm going to do this again maybe when I separate the stars. So I'm not going to go too crazy in this point, but I'm going to go ahead and see what that looked like before. A little more definition there. Notice that when I'm getting that dark, though, I'm losing kind of some of this surrounding nebula that I might want to keep. So I'm going to just kind of dial that there. It's pretty subtle, but a little brighter on that one. So I'm going to apply that. Reset the tool. I'm not going to get into these individual color bands until I remove the stars, but I might take a look at what saturation would do if I take it up. So saturation, obviously, you know, if we take it out, it's going to go black and white. Reset, and if I pull up, you know, and go crazy in this direction, then it's just going to get crazy red and blown out. But I might pump it just a little bit just to reinforce some of that color. See the difference here. I like that. All right, so that's about all I'm going to do on curves there for that guy, and then I'm going to do it on this one too. Same thing, start with RGB, and might play a little S-curve on this. Now on this one, I'm not really worried about the surrounding nebulosity as much. I'm probably going to be pulling in this data here on the flame, and then kind of right along this ridge is what I was thinking on these highlights, because they have a little bit different color than the L extreme data. But see the difference if I get crazy there. But I don't want to go too crazy with this, because again, I want to keep it kind of offset from the L extreme data. But I did like to have that brighten that up quite a bit. Boom, and give it some more definition. So I'm going to apply that. Let's see what saturation would look like with a little adjustment. I really like black and white photos. I don't think I'm going to play with that on this one. So I'm going to close out that curve transformation tool, close out the preview screen. And so right now we have a stretch and an easy soft stretch, and then a curves and saturation adjustment on both of these. All right, so the next thing I like to do is SCNR. And typically SCNR is, you can remove certain elements of a photo color, so green, red, blue. Typically I'm not going to remove red or blue because those are stellar colors, but green is one that might creep into some images. I don't really see a lot in my base image, but let's apply this. It's not going to change it hardly at all. It might on some of your pictures, so if you're using this workflow for another nebula, you might consider using that tool. And then the next thing I want to go ahead and do is go ahead and pull my stars from this guy right here. So this is my RGB stars coming from, I believe, my L Extreme filter. I think I may have said L Pro earlier, but L Extreme filter with a homemade diffractor put on that. So I'm going to do remove stars. From the stars edit, do a star exterminator. So this is a plugin that you can purchase or use as a trial. And I'm going to go ahead and generate a star image on this one and not really select anything else here. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this, and it'll take a second. Okay, I just separated the stars from my stars capture. So here's my stars. And then here's what it pulled out on the nebulosity. I'm going to go ahead and just scrap this. I'm going to rename this just stars. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. Keep it over here. And then I'm going to run Star Exterminator on both of these, which each one of those processes can take on my machine about 5 minutes. So I'll run those and I'll show you what it spits out there. All right, so we went ahead and pulled these stars out. I went ahead and just got rid of the L Pro stars. They had really bad halos. That broadband filter with tons of time leaves one, and you can see the effect of that just on this area right here. I'm going to go ahead and keep these because I might end up blending them a little bit with these, because you notice this when you kind of at this extent, you kind of just see this crosshair kind of showing up so bad. When you get in close, you can see that there's a blur, but I either will use probably blur exterminator to add some a little bit of halo to these big stars that are part of Orion's belt, or I might in Photoshop kind of pull some of this blur in, but we'll see. But I'm going to go ahead and rename this LXT_stars, and I'm just going to put it away. I may or may not use that later. But ultimately, here's what we're left with, our two nebulas, and you can kind of really see the difference in color here for the L Pro versus the L Extreme. The L Extreme kind of washes the flame in red, where the L Pro gives it kind of more this lighter effect. And then I really like this right here from the L Pro, kind of showing that star behind there poking its head out between this really dense dust cloud, so that's kind of cool. Obviously this is horrible, but we're not going to be incorporating that in Paint Shop. But so the next step, what I'm going to do here, we're going to go ahead and see if we can put a little more power or a little more pop on these with curves now that the stars are gone. So let me grab this one and see and try that little simple S curve again and see what that looks like. It's not much difference. Let me pull these down a little bit further. Kind of get a dusty look on that dust. Okay, so I don't really like any of that, honestly. Oh, sorry, I'm on saturation, my bad. So let's pull this down a little, pop this up a little, see if this is some layered kind of data we want to bring in. I'm really missing some kind of this dust here, so I don't really like that. You know what? I kind of like the LPro data as is. I'm just going to leave it as is for now, and I'll save that here in a second. Let's take a look at this guy. Really, at this point, I've darkened it so much, I don't want to lose any of this data here by messing with that. So let me see saturation-wise. Yeah, everything more than that just kind of look unnatural to me. So I'm going to leave that as is as well. And then I'm going to go here and save each one of these. So File, Save As. I'm going to call this LXT underscore PS, because I'm going to take this to Paint Shop, or sorry, Photoshop. And then on this guy, I'm going to do the same thing. LPro underscore PS for Photoshop. Gotcha. But I'm going to go ahead and head over to Paint Shop, or sorry, Photoshop, gosh dang, and take these two images over there. And I've already pulled them up here. So we've got our bottom layer, which is our LPro data. And then on top of that right now, we've got our LExtreme data. And what we're going to do is come down here and hit this little button right here, and it's going to make us a stamp clone right here. So I'm going to go to this brush tool, and I'm going to make it pretty good size. So I'm going to take it up to, I don't know, let's call it around 300. Pretty good size to start, because I'm pulling a big region. And then I want it to be soft and round here, okay? And then take the hardness down to 0. Okay, so then I'm going to click that, and then basically what happens is when I go on here and just start click, 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 what it's doing is it's making this appear because I'm making this part transparent, and here is my mask, okay? So if I want to bring this color out, I can just kind of click and hold, or just start clicking here. And then you see I wanted to get that different color flame in there too. So I'm bringing some of this color in, and I just kind of sit here and click this. So I'm going to keep doing this, and I'll get right back to you. So bringing both these photos back into PixInsight, and we've got our combined nebula here. These are our old ones, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize those guys. Save them just in case. But we've got this nebula, and then our stars here. Let's take a look at that. Stars. So the next thing we're going to do is combine these two images using Pixel Map. So I'm going to go up here to Process, All Processes, Elemental, Pixel Math, and I'm just going to type in Neb for this. That's what I've identified this as, NEB, add STARS 2. And then I'm going to go down here and hit Apply Global. Boom. Okay, so now we've got a combined image with the stars, and let's just kind of look and see if we like it, or if we want to do anything else to it before we throw a signature on it in Paint Shop or Photoshop. Dang it. So pretty good. What you guys think? I think I might try a light blur exterminator and try to bring in some more halo in these stars. But it's looking pretty sharp, guys. Kind of like it. All right, so let me see that blur exterminator. So sharpen this. I've already done it quite a bit, so I'm going to just take it easy on that guy. Sharpening the stars, I think I'll try to take it easy on that too, and then adjusting star halos. Let's see what this does. I'll be right back after this finishes. Exterminator has completed, and I just want to take a look and see the difference. It did add some halo, I can tell. That's before, that's after. Let's just make sure it didn't mess up kind of the key features. That's before. This actually helps. I probably could have done one more of those. So let's take a look in this area. Yeah, it still sharpened it some more. So I'm happy with that result. That's a little crazy on that double star, but it's just a ton of light getting captured. I see a couple effects that I'm going to want to probably clone out. What is that? Yeah, I probably need to touch up a little bit in Paint Shop real quick. A couple of items, and it was in my star layer, hot pixels, and I'm gonna grab those out. So let me go ahead and save this as combined. I'll just call it combined. Okay, and I'm gonna go to Photoshop. Kind of digging how it's looking. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna find something to clone and stamp on top of this. So let me zoom in right here and just kind of pull something smaller here on my brush, and I'm going to go to the clone stamp tool. Okay, I'm going to hit Alt to select an area, and then I'm going to kind of just paint over that so it goes away. Kind of see a very similar feature there. All right. So let me zoom back out. Man, that'd be cool if that's like a heavy piece of nebula, but it just kind of stands out to me as something I don't want to see. So I'm gonna go ahead and clone and kind of just cover that up a little bit. And there's some area here that's a little blue as well. Just kind of blend that in a little bit there. So you can't tell it all when you're this far back. There's another hot pixel there. I'm not sure why these aren't getting canceled out in my stack, but oh well. Let's see here. I don't want to do that. See how big it's pulling? Let me turn that off. If you just pull something like in that area, nope, it's way bigger than I want. Why is this so damn big? One more here. Okay. It's probably a star or a galaxy there. All right, you know, I kind of like it. I think what I'll do is crop just a little. I'm trying to decide if I want to keep this kind of image where it's where I got some star kind of creating some nebulosity, wider nebulosity there, the reflection. Let me take a look at that. I kind of like that too. Just a tad. You know what? I'm just gonna give it. Yeah, you know what? Let's just keep it as big as we can. We can always crop it later. Okay. So, liking that. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna open up a signature and toss on here too, in case you guys want to do something like that. So if you have a signature separate, let me see, signatures. There's places you can buy these if you want someone to do one for you, like this little set. So I'm gonna resize this first image because you never know kind of how big it is unless you just call it out. I'm gonna take it down to 1.2 inches and keep it the same there. Can't see that offline there. And then I'm going to copy this layer and paste it here. I'm just going to grab it and put it down here in a darker area. Okay, so I kind of like that. I'm going to go ahead and save that, and I'm going to call it good, guys. So appreciate y'all sticking with me. If you like this workflow, let me know in the comments below. Hit me with any questions you got. Be following for some new ones coming up. But hopefully you like how I blended the two filters on a color camera, the ASI 294 MC Pro, using the Optilong L Extreme filter and the Optilong L Pro. We'll see you next time.